week, I looked at my top 10 most disappointing coasters that I've ridden. Some of you weren't too happy. So today, as a sequel to that video, I will be looking at my top 10 coasters that surprised me. Please note that this is not my top 10 most underrated coasters, but rather coasters that surprised me. Some of these coasters surprised me because of the circumstance that I was in. That may not make sense, but you'll see what I mean later on. So without any further ado, let's jump into my top 10 coasters that surprised me. Number 10 is Vow Raveing at Cedar Point. Almost everyone except for Time Thrills craps all over this ride, saying that it's dumb and the vessel trains suck and all this nonsense. But really, it's all about expectations. If you go in thinking that it's going to be this phenomenal ride and all, you will be disappointed. However, if you go in thinking that this ride is going to be forceless and stupid and that you'll get no airtime, you'll be pleasantly surprised. Personally, I don't mind the vessel trains. The drop is fun, you get loads of hang time on the inversions, and you get really strong floater over the airtime hill. You also get crazy ejector on the drop after the mid-course. In general, this ride gets way too much hate, and I would ride it again in a heartbeat. That said, the lines get really long even with the fast lane, so try to ride this one early. Number 9 is Cobras Curse at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This ride doesn't pull too many forces, it doesn't give tons of airtime, but man, it is just fun. The drop gives some pretty good floater, and the backward section is a lot more intense than it looks. Also, the spinning section is so much fun. You are just spinning wildly while going over these really fun turns and transitions. Plus, to add to the experience, we rode this with friends, and in the queue line they were arguing over who got to sit next to me and be in the vlog, which was really entertaining. This ride is really fun and definitely is not talked about enough. Number 8 is the Joker at various Six Flags parks, more specifically the SNS 40 free spins. With these rides, you either love them or you hate them, and I, personally, love them. Everyone in my family hates these things, and so I went in with extremely low expectations. I staple myself, and for the love of God, do the same thing. If you don't, you will be violently thrown around in your seat, and it will not be too comfortable. Also, the ejector on this ride you can get is insane. When you are on the top row, I guess you could call it, of the coaster, you will flip upside down. And if your timing is just right, you will flip upside down when the coaster is going through a valley. The valley typically gives you positive G's, but when you're upside down, you get negative G's. Combine those with the negative G's you get from gravity, since you're upside down, and you will get insane ejector. Plus, the single rider line is always nice, so when you're walking by, you can just get a quick ride in before heading on some more coasters. Number 7 is Monti at Busch Gardens, Tampa. Wow. Just wow. This coaster is so intense. I don't know how Busch did it, but they made practically a perfect ride. It's got theming, it's got inversions, and it's got a whole lot of intensity. However, this ride does have some slow sections. That overbank turn that flies by the pathways was really underwhelming. I was expecting to be thrown to the left in a super fast turn, but you slowly go through this element. It almost felt like I was getting sideways hang time, it was that slow. Another thing that takes away from the ride is the small rattle, and I'm just kidding. This ride is perfectly smooth. Like seriously, this is one of the smoothest coasters I've ridden. Part of me was expecting this coaster to disappoint, and the other part was expecting this coaster to be a really good ride, and it blew both of those expectations away. This ride is seriously so much fun. At the number 6 spot is MaxxForce at Six Flags Great America. During the weeks leading up to its opening when I was filming construction updates, I was getting so unbelievably excited. This ride looked like so much fun, but when I filmed my testing footage, I take a step back and I'm like, wow, that's a short ride. That's a really short ride. So I went in with expectations that it was going to be a short but fun ride, and even though it is short, I loved it. The surreal intensity of the launch combined with the inversions is awesome, and surprisingly, I thought it wasn't too short. For instance, Top Thrill Dragster. That ride is short, so don't go in expecting it to have the length of Steel Vengeance. You expect an insane launch and a short, fun layout. Same with this. If you're looking for a long ride, well, then go to Raging Bull or Viper. If you have to go in expecting it to be short. That's when it really surprises you. Number 5 is Rougarou at Cedar Point. What a fun ride! This ride has good positives, a few good negatives, and some really fun elements. Almost everyone craps all over Rougarou, and I just can't see why. And if you're saying I've just always had good rides, well, I've ridden it where people right next to me are screaming in pain. I've ridden this ride in the front, the back, the middle, everywhere. And there is no bad seat on this ride. This ride isn't crazy intense or anything, but this ride is just fun. Also, even if you don't have the fast lane, which by far the fast lane is a necessity at Cedar Point, this ride never has a wait. Never. You can just hop on in and get a quick ride in before going to Millie. The poor ridership makes me fear it's going to be removed. Like, seriously, I love this ride. The drop is awesome, the transitions are so much fun, and in general, this is just one fantastic ride that gets hated on so much. Number 4 is Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This ride is fun, alright? It's so much fun. For this ride, you either think it's an okay ride, or you think it's an awesome and extremely underrated ride. I happen to fall in the latter group. This ride is also completely based on expectations. If you go in expecting Maverick, then you will be severely disappointed. That's the thing, everyone goes in expecting Maverick, but it's not supposed to be Maverick. It's a mild thrill coaster. It is not some balls to the wall intense coaster like Maverick. It is not Maverick. Anyway, the launches were surprisingly intense, and the drop was really fun. By the way, halfway through the ride, there is an unbelievable airtime hill. You hit this launch, get a quick punch of speed, and get yeeted out of your seat. Also, the swervy section through the rocks is so cool. I just wish I could film it. That would look so cool. All in all, this is one fun ride, and it's my favorite family coaster. At the number 3 spot is Tigress at Busch Gardens, Tampa. Okay, holy crap. No one told me that Skyrocket 2s are amazing. Everyone says they're like okay or something, but these rides are fantastic. The launches are really good, the hang time is awesome, the ejector is world class, and the intensity is top notch. Like, this coaster is so close to being flawless. However, there are some flaws. It doesn't seem too short, but it definitely could be longer. Also, even though the airtime is fantastic, there really only is one moment. And those comfort collars are really well uncomfortable. But other than that, this coaster is amazing. I was expecting just another ride. A ride that I'll get the credit for and probably never ride again. But man, this coaster is so much fun. Number 2 is Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City. I have 2 words for this ride. The drop. The drop literally feels like 10 seconds, and I'm not exaggerating. Toward the end of the airtime moment, you're like, what's happening? Why is this airtime moment so long? How is this thing still going? Like, the airtime is so sustained, it's beyond sustained. It's beyond. And it's not just that. The airtime is incredibly strong. It is amazing. Also, halfway through the ride, you get another unbelievable airtime hill. The twisted hill hurts, it's so strong, but it's definitely not as sustained as the drop. You get a decent airtime moment going into the second launch, but typically you're sideways, and instead of regular airtime, it's good airtime, but it like throws you sideways. It's not too uncomfortable, but it's kind of awkward. But anyway, those 2 airtime moments are what made the ride for me. They're that good. And at the number 1 spot, surprisingly, it's Maverick at Cedar Point. In the beginning, I said some of these placements depended on the circumstance that I was in. I mainly said that because of this one. So here's what happened. During my 2018 trip, we didn't stay at the Hotel Breakers, so we can have early entry. And if you haven't been to Cedar Point, before 9 or whenever the park opens, you can ride the rides in the very front of the park, but they stop you right next to Raptor. That's what the crowd of people are doing in the Raptor POV. They're waiting for the rest of the park to open. Anyway, the clock hits 9 and I book it. And I mean book it to Steel Vengeance. Like, I hauled butt all the way down the peninsula, and it was closed. And that really worried me. I don't know why, but I thought that it wouldn't open that trip. Like, just because it's not open the first 30 seconds that I'm here, it ain't gonna open. I don't know why I thought that, but it did. So we went to the ride next door, Maverick, and since I was sad going in, I kind of forgot that this ride was supposed to be incredible. So when we went down that drop, I was like, holy crap, I just realized I'm on Maverick, and that ride made my mood go from 0 to, oh my god, I'm having so much fun. So I went in kind of sad, and it pleasantly surprised me, and since I hadn't really ridden Steel Vengeance yet, it was my number 1. The cherry on top is when I got off the ride. I was looking at the great views of this coaster from the exit and I saw Steel Vengeance testing. And then I was even happier. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. See you guys in the next video. Goodbye.